She wasn't born into power. She fought for it. This is the forgotten story of a queen who faced down an empire and made them bleed. Her name, Queen Nzinga of Ndongo and Matamba. In the 1600s, European powers sought to expand their empires across Africa, driven by an insatiable thirst for wealth, resources, and slaves. The Portuguese, having already established strongholds along the African coast, set their sights on the rich kingdoms of the interior, including Ndongo and Matamba, present-day Angola. These kingdoms were powerful, ruled by monarchs who fiercely protected their people and lands. But when the Portuguese arrived in the mid-16th century, they were unprepared for the brutal force of European imperialism. The Portuguese sought to dominate, conquer, and extract the wealth of Africa. They enslaved millions, sending them across the Atlantic to work in brutal conditions on plantations. But there was one woman who would defy them, one queen who would never surrender. Her name was Nzinga, and she was determined to protect her people at any cost. When the Portuguese governor demanded peace talks in the early 1600s, Nzinga was called upon to represent her kingdom at the negotiating table. The colonizers, with their air of superiority, offered her no seat. But Nzinga was not the type to accept humiliation. She didn't sit in silence or retreat. She sent for one of her servants to kneel before her and made a chair of his back, sitting atop him like a queen, signaling to the Portuguese that she would not be belittled. Her defiance shocked the invaders. Nzinga's response was not just about her pride. It was a strategic move, a clear statement. She would not give an inch to those who sought to destroy her people and culture. And that was just the beginning. Nzinga was born into a time of great turmoil, but she rose as one of Africa's most formidable rulers. When her brother, King Angola, died, Nzinga took his place as the ruler of Ndongo and Matamba. At the time, her people were struggling. The Portuguese had entrenched themselves in the region, capturing land and enslaving thousands. But Nzinga knew the only way to survive was to fight back to defend her land, her people, and her sovereignty. Nzinga's military genius became evident almost immediately. She formed crucial alliances with other African kingdoms, bolstering her forces to counter the Portuguese. But that wasn't all. Nzinga's diplomatic prowess shone through as well. To delay Portuguese advances, she made a calculated decision to convert to Christianity, but not because she believed in it. She knew that it would buy her time. By playing the role of a Christian monarch, she gained the trust of European powers, allowing her to build a stronger, more cohesive resistance. Despite her efforts to maintain peace, the Portuguese continued their efforts to undermine her, forcing her to take even bolder actions. She trained her warriors, women and men alike, in the art of combat, equipping them with the tools they needed to resist colonization. She personally led her army into battle, wielding a spear and dressed in armor, riding on horseback alongside her soldiers. She fought not just as a ruler, but as a warrior queen, a woman who embodied the spirit of resistance. Nzinga's ability to outmaneuver the Portuguese was nothing short of brilliant. She didn't just rely on brute force, she knew how to play the long game. When needed, she used negotiations to stall for time. When diplomacy failed, she led her armies to victory in battle. Her ingenuity, her ability to adapt to ever-changing circumstances, made her a fearsome adversary. Despite her brilliance, Nzinga faced insurmountable odds. Betrayal, hardship, and constant pressure from the Portuguese tested her resolve. As her allies turned on her and her kingdom faced starvation and disease, the weight of her leadership grew heavier. Her people looked to her for strength, and Nzinga, despite all the odds, refused to bow to the empire that sought to erase her legacy. At one point, her kingdom was on the brink of collapse. The Portuguese intensified their attacks, seeking to starve the population into submission. But Nzinga held firm. She was a master of resilience. Despite being surrounded on all sides, she didn't surrender. Instead, she launched a series of strategic counterattacks, reclaiming territories and freeing her people. Her tactics were revolutionary for the time, a mixture of guerrilla warfare and diplomacy. Nzinga led her people with an iron will, never allowing herself to falter in the face of adversity. Though the Portuguese military had more resources and larger numbers, they could never break Nzinga. She knew the importance of having a strong morale, and by leading her soldiers directly into battle, she inspired them to fight for their land, their freedom, and their families. Even when the Portuguese attempted to negotiate again, Nzinga did not let them off easily. She knew the art of negotiation, using every conversation to secure strategic advantages for her people. Her ability to turn what seemed like defeats into victories became legendary. Nzinga's final years were marked by continued resistance. She faced setbacks her people suffered from the ongoing war, and the Portuguese remained a formidable enemy. But through it all, she remained steadfast. She would never give in, never allow the invaders to claim what was rightfully hers. Nzinga died in 1663 at the age of 80, having spent more than 30 years in battle. Her reign was one of unmatched courage and resilience. She was undefeated on the battlefield and unbroken in spirit. Despite the passage of time, her legacy endured. However, her name is often forgotten in the Western narrative. Many of the details of her life were erased or overlooked by history. Yet her influence cannot be denied. In every woman who refuses to be ruled, in every person who fights for their land, Nzinga's legacy lives on. Her story isn't just about one woman, it's about the power of resistance. It's about the fight for sovereignty, for freedom, and for dignity in the face of an empire that sought to dominate and enslave. Nzinga's name may not always be spoken, but her legacy is carried by the generations who continue to defy the forces of oppression. Subscribe to Legacy Thread, where history's fiercest women rise again. Because empires fall, but legends live forever.